The Meteor airdrop is going to go live 5 days. 23rd of October, I'm going to talk about potential price expectations and if you should be entering into the DLMM pool, holding it, selling it, or going into the actual DAM V2 pool. Let's get amongst it. So first up, here's a thread here, and this goes over the key takeaway questions. One thing is 23rd of October. We do not know the exact time when it will actually go live, but you bet there's going to be a whole lot of attention on it. Now, the Met launch has a few blog posts, and they will be linked as well. Met launch pool, basically, it starts at initial price of 50 cents, which is 500 million FTV, and it's 48% circulating supply at token generation event, and the max price is $7.50, which is 7.5 FTV. So this is called a fee scheduler, and this is what anybody that has their tokens with Dupe, you automatically enter into the DAM V2 pool. And we're going to go over a calculator in a second. But in the very first minutes, there's a significantly higher fee added to avoid people sniping and then trying to dump higher on you. And I believe that this is not going to probably work out terribly well for the best form of fee generation, but we'll go over that in a moment. And I think within 20 seconds, there will be DLMM pools that will be set up with a lower fee, and they're going to have volume routed through there, and it'll arbitrage back and forth. That's my expectation. Now, Met Calculator, this was created by this dude called Swishy. And this is really, really helpful. And it gives an estimate in terms of where, like what you could generate and the impermanent loss and whatnot. So let's say you're fortunate enough to have 10,000 Met. Cool. And let's say the starting market cap is 910 million FTV. So it's going to start at 500, and then very quickly it would come up to as would be the expectation. Maybe it's quickly, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 5 minutes. Typically, we could look at other situations, but typically chart goes up quickly, comes back, retraces, goes again, and then starts to lose steam typically. But this probably going to be a little bit different because of that 48% supply. So if you just hold it, I'm sure you can work this out, so I'm going to speed run it. If you just hold it and you sell it when you think it's the top, maybe that's 910, you'll have 9.1 thousand. If you LP it, you're going to have the vast majority of Met because you'll be selling all the way up to 7.5 billion FTV, $7.50. You'll have some USDC, but you're expected to generate some fees. So you could outperform like this. You may even want to keep it in here in this pool for an hour and then move it out and then start to limit sell. We may just want to hold this. Like Meteor in a lengthier period of time could do very, very well. But that needs to be a conversation for another day. I just want to talk about kind of a day one expectation, okay? Now, you can go and pre-buy, you can go and pre-trade this with Hyperliquid. So you're not actually buying the actual token. All you're doing is shorting it or longing it. You can hedge here as well, but I haven't, and I'm not. It's down 44% from the recent high here, which is just a few days ago. However, I think this is a combination of factors, mostly due to the fact that the markets are very cold right now. All that leverage that was taken out around this date here, and it just tanked things. It's a scary. It's been a scary few weeks. Massive liquidations. You can see this on Hyperliquid. You can also see this on Binance. The token price is essentially the same. Okay. Now, Polymarket's very, very good at typically knowing where the odds are going to be, right? But the odds are dynamic. So over 1 billion FTV, it's currently voting no. Now, if we get what's called a short squeeze with Bitcoin, where the price moves up very, very quickly over the weekend, there'll be more euphoria coming into the market. But where will that euphoria be coming from? And will it happen by the 23rd? I'm unsure. We've got 5 days. So this was recently, it was 93%, and it dropped very, very significantly. So now the chances are far lower that after 1 day after launch, 24 hours, it would be above these amounts. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, however, they do have centralized exchanges on board, and they also have market makers. So we've just plugged this into ChatGPT, put it on pro mode, and given it some extensive thinking. I'm not an expert. I'm not the best person to ask about market making because I don't know how it's done accurately. So essentially, a project wants to be in a certain range. They're given tokens. They keep the token in that range. They deploy capital and they push it in this range, right? Now, it can go outside of that, there's a minimum floor. So my expectation is that they've said, okay, there's a minimum floor of 500 million, right? They have to keep it above 500 million, which shouldn't be difficult. But I don't know how high they are going. And I'm friendly with Soju. I think Soju's amazing, but he's not going to tell me that information. He's not going to tell, I don't think, anyone that information. Plus, the market decides things at the end. I will tell you one thing, though. The Meteora team has an investor relations team or person, or I think a few of them doing this, where they go and speak to funds, and they're telling these funds, thus far, over 40 funds, they've talked about the actual token generation event, got them on board. Maybe there's some hidden alpha in there that we're not privy to. Don't necessarily think that, but they're probably going to go with some sort of value proposition, as in, this is why I think you should be bullish and excited for Meteora. I would suggest, you set some bids and acquire some MET token. These are what our plans are and whatnot. Funds have far more liquidity. They've got a longer term horizon typically, and they just want to keep in mind. How many of them are on board? We don't know. But one thing is VCs are not getting any tokens at a discount. Another blog post here goes over the mercurial aspect. So just keeping in mind, there is a huge amount of sell pressure, and the team does have some tokens immediately unlocked. And this is from the Mercurial token, which was raised 2021. And the OG team holds around 5% of the total supply. Okay. Here it's Meow, Sion, and I as Zen. They collectively hold roughly 3%, and then 2% to other people in the team. So I'm just putting it out there. Even though the team is aligned, they have unlocked tokens, and they're most welcome to sell if they want to sell. They may want to. Just letting you know that this can happen. There's a lot of potential people that will sell, and there's a lot of potential people that will buy. But right now, there's fear in the markets, and as much as LPs tend to know, you buy the dips and you sell euphoria, FOMO and fear is still like a natural part of the psychology of a trader. It takes years to master. Easy, however, has got a target. Now, keep in mind, it says this is just my day one target. I don't give a frick what 6 months looks like, but he has a target of 2 bill to 2.5 bill. He said this at when it was pre-trading at 1.18 bill. So it hasn't really dropped down much from this. That is his own target. This is just someone's opinion, but he's given it an idea of between Uniswap and PancakeSwap. So we're going to go over that. Uniswap's sitting at an FDV of much higher than it's much higher. I'll show you in a second. But that generating fees around 2.6 billion. We do not know what the revenue is. We cannot see that. I just cannot work out what the revenue is for whatever reason. The market cap's 3.6, FTV 6, and it had an all-time high quite some time ago, 2021, and it's down 86% from there. Meteora, we can see the fees, and we can see the revenue, and they're sitting at around $1 billion, but this can grow. Uniswap's on, I'm not sure how many, 5, 6, 7, 10 chains. Meteora is on one chain, so they are significantly outperforming. PancakeSwap has much higher fees, and they're sitting at 775 million. So even though they've got more TVL, they do not cook as well as Meteora. And then their token also hit a very high FTV many moons ago, and it's sitting at a FTV of 1 billion. Now, Soju had a tweet that I couldn't find again, unfortunately. So I'm not going to mention in case he had to delete it. But one thing I just want to keep in mind is they are really pushing in terms of having a massive coordination effort with Meteora and with the community. And they're not talking about anything in terms of utility. So there will be no utility. So don't think of a utility right now. Think of it as a startup. You're a startup. You need to become very profitable. And if a startup's very profitable, the people that own a share of that, in a sense, they should do well. But that is not financial advice. Nothing ever will be financial advice. It's educational nature. And there is a risk to everything. But I do see that they're significantly aligned with the token holders. The last thing I'm going to mention is you can go to met.meteora.ag, connect your wallet, and you can decide if you have MET tokens to collect by using Meteora or maybe holding M3 or something like that. You can decide if you want to be in the liquidity pool or if you want to be just claiming it yourself. If you claim it yourself, you have to go ahead and claim it from the website when the website goes live. It could be under significant demand. There could be delays. It is a possibility. There could be 30,000 people trying to access it at the same time. So I'm adding a good amount of liquidity into this initially, but the vast majority I plan to put into a DLMM pool and to try and go in tight ranges and just have a bit of fun, to be perfectly honest. But that's my opinion, and you need to make sure you know how to use Meteora. If you do not know how to use Meteora, I've got videos on it. You should definitely watch them. Thanks for watching. Let me know any questions. Catch you next one.